So over the past 2 decades, Zionist groups have begun a transformation of Islam in the same way that they tried to transform, or they did transform, a lot of Christianity, Catholic and Protestant. Christianity reformed it. You have the same attempts on Islam. And these policies began with the War on Terror after 9/11, CVE policies, countering violent extremism, and then eventually the Abraham Accords. So these kinds of initiatives, historically since 9/11, have been meant to get Muslims to be more aligned with Israel, be more open to Israel, normalize relations with Israel. And you have these Muslim political and religious leaders, so-called Muslim political and religious leaders, who promote a kind of perennialism. This idea that, well, you don't have to be a Muslim to attain salvation. You can be Christian and you can be Jewish. You can be a Jew and reject the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but you can still attain salvation. So these are not, random imams. These are imams that are backed by governments, specifically in the Muslim world, specifically in the Gulf. So these are the same Muslim leaders who not only say you can accept these other religions, but also you should be okay with Israel's genocide of Palestinians. Yeah, well, is Masjid al-Aqsa that important? Yeah, do we really need to care so much about Palestinians? Yeah, they're just one group of oppressed Muslims. There are oppressed Muslims throughout the world. So, why focus only on Palestine? Like, this seems like you're just obsessed. Like, you hear these kinds of perspectives. And then you have these religious leaders who are promoting that and pushing that. So then you have like these Madkhalis, and I've talked extensively about the Madkhalis. And they say that, well, if you criticize the pro-Israel policies of Muslim governments, then you are a deviant, or you are actually an apostate. They will takfir you. This is what they've done against me. They say that, well, you're criticizing these Gulf governments because of their normalization of economic ties with Israel. Therefore, you are khariji. You are basically a terrorist. You're a deviant. And they've made countless videos on me. They've written countless articles about me, denouncing me. Why? Because I don't think that Muslim governments should normalize with Israel and enable the genocide of Palestinians. So the main figures on social media promoting this Muslim Zionism are figures like Faris Al Hammadi and others, which I'll go through. But look at this. If you don't know who Faris Hammadi is, I call him Rabbi Faris. Here's Rabbi Faris. This guy is literally, just 7 years ago, he was doing CrossFit. He was a CrossFit coach, and he had a gym in the UAE. That was his job. And then suddenly he became a sheikh, a scholar, and he goes online and he says outrageous things that we'll talk about. So, my girl's stronger than you. That's his shirt, as he's doing CrossFit. Very funny shirt to be wearing for a Muslim scholar. And then we can't go through Faris Hammadi's whole record, but he got a lot of heat and a lot of backlash because when there were these boycotts announced against Starbucks and McDonald's, he came out and said that, well, boycotting is haram. Boycotting is haram. You can't boycott Starbucks. And he even at one point said that if you boycott Starbucks, you're a terrorist. He said khariji. Like, he called those who are boycotting as khawarij. So being a khariji basically means you're a terrorist and you're a deviant if you boycott Israel. And if you don't believe me that that's what he said, we can watch this. Here we go. Let's see. Hopefully you can hear this.
Country. When you go to the public and say, hey guys, everyone, we should boycott so and so company. I had a deal with that company. They're paying us. And when we have a deal together, you're ruining that deal. And it's up to the Muslim government that you cannot disobey it like that. If the Muslim government or the ruler says boycott, then yes, because he knows things you don't know, and they have agreements, they have taken care of it. So now he says okay to boycott, and it happened before. But if it doesn't happen now, meaning that we don't know something, it's going to harm us if we boycott them. Yeah. So boycotting. That's why many of the ulama, they said boycotting is haram. It's not up to you, Habib. It's not up to you. The deal is between the government or the government agency, like, the municipality or the Department of Economy or whatever. They had a deal with so and so company. You come and say to the people, hey, don't buy from them. Why? Who are you? What authority do you have? It's not allowed.
It's haram. You boycott Starbucks, it's haram. McDonald's is haram. What authority do you have? If the ruler says you have to buy McDonald's and you have to support Israeli businesses and you have to support Israel economic ties, you have no choice, Habibi. You have no choice. And if you don't stuff the Big Mac down your gullet, if you don't suck down the Frappuccino from Starbucks, then you are doing something haram and you're a Khariji. Eat that Israeli Big Mac. Drink that Israeli Frappuccino, caramel latte or whatever. So this is Faris Hammadi. And he, Rabbi Faris, he came out with this immediately. He's on the ball. Like he knows, whenever the ummah is going out of line and is doing something haram, like boycotting Israel, he's quick dropping that TikTok video. This is haram. This is haram. You Khawarij. And this was this went viral basically. And you had even Zionist accounts, and I think even accounts associated with the Israeli government who were tweeting it and saying, oh, this is what a Muslim scholar is saying, that boycotting Israel is haram. Why don't you listen to your scholars, you deviant Muslims, you terrorists? This is the kind of person Rabbi Faris is. And then he got a lot of backlash. So he's had to retract his stance. So he's made many videos about boycotting because he can't get his story straight. And let's hear what he says. So he was doing this interview with Sneeko, and he ordered a Coke. He's drinking Coca-Cola. So now what's his stance now on boycotting?
With Sneeko. And in that interview, I ordered a Coke, given the thing that I believe in, that I believe that boycotting in Muslim countries, it is up to the person, and I mentioned in Sneeko's interview.
Oh, now it's up to the person. Boycotting is up to the person. Wait. Didn't you say it was up to the ruler? We saw the video. You said that boycotting is up to the ruler. Now it's up to the person. So if you want to do it, you don't want to do it, it's up to you.
That I don't believe that our franchise, which are located in the UAE or any Muslim country, specifically I'm speaking in the Gulf, it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't benefit our brothers and sisters in Gaza in any kind of way.
It doesn't
the factories help. In the UAE, the money's in the UAE, the workers are Muslim, the owner is Muslim. So that fraction of royalty, we call it royalty, that fraction of, they pay for the mother company because of the branding and the ingredients, and it's a franchise.
It's a franchise,
so
yeah.
That, and I said this in the interview. I said this is it's insignificant, that it doesn't.
It's insignificant.
It doesn't affect.
No effect.
It doesn't benefit Gaza. Doesn't affect or harm Israel.
The royalties.
So I don't think that this is effective. So why should I do it? And so.
Okay, so change the story. Before it was, no, it's haram to boycott. You have to get permission from the ruler. He got so much backlash that the Islam apparently changed. Maybe he got revelation. What was haram suddenly is now halal. It's up to you. You can choose. It's mubah, basically. You can boycott. You can't boycott. So look at this spineless coward. And the funny thing is, he doesn't understand boycotting. He doesn't understand franchising. That royalty is nothing leaves. When you boycott McDonald's in a Muslim country, nothing is going to go to outside of the Muslim country. Yes, the royalty, the royalty will leave. The royalty that the franchise collects, that goes to the parent company. As a franchisee, you're giving a percentage, and sometimes it's a significant percentage. You've bought the franchise, so the money that you have spent, like let's say you want to open a McDonald's, you spend $1 million to buy the franchise, to be licensed to use the logo of McDonald's, use the market or the branding of McDonald's. You're paying for that, like $1 million. So that's money that goes out of your country, out of the UAE. It goes outside to these wherever that company is located. So that is money that's going outside of your country, number one. Then there's royalties that are every quarter or annually are going from your business, from as a franchisee, to the parent company. So that's number two. Number three, if that franchise suffers because Muslims in the country are boycotting it, then future business owners will not want to buy that franchise. Muslim business owners, millionaires or billionaires in the UAE or in any of these Muslim countries will say, well, I better not buy McDonald's. I better not buy Starbucks because there's a boycott. So let me buy another franchise, a franchise that will have Muslim customers. So then they'll spend that $1 million or the millions of dollars to buy franchises that Muslims will buy food from or buy clothes or whatever from. So this is basic logic. Like, this is how boycotts work. And this Faris, Rabbi Faris, wants to pretend that he doesn't understand any of this. Even though he's a business owner, he had his CrossFit gym. So I'm sure he has like this kind of knowledge of how franchises works, but he's playing dumb. So this is very, despicable, disgusting. What a loathsome person. Like, the minimum that Muslims want to do is, I want to do something for my brothers and sisters in Palestine. I can't do much, but the least I can do is I won't buy from these companies that overtly have supported this kind of war against Palestinians. I want to do the minimum. And then immediately this agent, the Zionist agent, comes and says, no, it's haram. It's haram to do even that little bit. Imagine what kind of a sellout agent you have to be. There's not enough, bad things that can be said about such a person. Okay, but Faris Hammadi is not the only Zionist Muslim, quote unquote. You have Zahak Tanvir. He's in prison. Saudi put him in prison. He's the student of Faris Hammadi. He's like a very close associate and student of Faris Hammadi. Turned out he was a spy for the Indian government. There are some reports on that he was a spy for the Indian government, and the Saudi government discovered this and put him in prison. So all he was doing on social media is supporting Israel, supporting the BJP, the Hindutva government, attacking Muslims, oppressing Muslims. So he was also one of these munafiq agents, big supporter of Zionism. Now he's rotting in a jail cell. This is Noor Dahri. He says he's a Zionist Salafi. He's a Zionist Salafi. So he goes and he trains with the IDF. He denounces Palestinians constantly. He says Muslims are terrorists. But he claims to be a Muslim. You have Sajwani, Hassan Sajwani, another one of these Zionists. Luay Sharif, constantly shilling for Israel. Amjad Taha, shilling for Israel. So you have these people, like these sellouts, and they're pushing perennialism, as I mentioned, and they're pushing Zionism, and they're constantly attacking Muslims and Palestinians in favor of the Israeli government. So that's, those are some of the social media personalities. You also have these governmental initiatives, like the Forum for Promoting Peace in Muslim Societies. This is coming out of the UAE. And you have figures like Abdullah bin Baya, who is a Mauritanian scholar, Sufi, and he is promoting this forum for promoting peace in Muslim societies. And Hamza Yusuf is his main student and vice president. You can see him, and they're having a nice interfaith dialogue with the Zionists. And Muhammad Majid, he's another one of these sellouts. He's closely involved with promoting Zionism to Muslims. He's often working with Zionist organizations and doesn't really care about Palestinians at all, other than lip service. So these are modeled along the same kind of interfaith dialogue that we discussed with the Vatican and with the Catholic Church. So you have these kinds of forums. You have like these alliances. They call them the Alliance of Virtue, forum for promoting peace. And you're supposed to talk about tolerance and love between all religions. And what these reformists do, these munafiqeen, they will critique Islam. Oh yeah, we have certain extremist ideas, extremist teachings. Like the true message of Islam is to accept all religions and to, make peace. And this is what the interfaith dialogue will consist of. They'll focus on Islam and the action of Muslim extremists, the intolerant Muslims. They'll never discuss Jewish extremists. They'll never discuss Jewish texts, extremist ideas found in these Jewish texts, like the Hebrew Bible, like the Talmud, like the Midrash. These texts, they're not discussed. They are not part of the conversation. It's only the Quran and these problematic verses, quote unquote, of the Quran, problematic hadith, these extremist interpretations. Oh, we have these Salafis or these supporters of Ibn Taymiyyah. We have to root out this extremism. That's what the focus of the interfaith dialogue, the promotion of peace is about. But the other side of the equation, that doesn't get any airtime or discussion. So you have, so these kinds of Bin Bayya type, Hamza Yusuf type, that's the Sufi side of Zionist Islam, quote unquote. The Salafi side are the Madkhalis, like the Faris Hammadi, that whole branch. Who is the other guy? Abu Khadija types. They're the Madkhali, quote unquote Salafi. They pretend to be Salafi, but really they're Zionists. Another development has been the Marrakesh Declaration. So this was a declaration, and you see the ADL of all organizations promoting it. This came out in 2016. And again, it's promoting this same kind of idea that, well, Muslims have extremism, Islam has this extremist element, and we need to defend the rights of religious minorities in predominantly Muslim countries. So Muslims have a problem with oppressing Christians and Jews and atheists, and we need more religious freedom. And they had 250 Muslim religious leaders, heads of state, and scholars sign the declaration. And you also had representative of the persecuted religious communities. So this is like a whole bait and switch. Like you present this kind of idea that, oh, Muslims are so intolerant and religious minorities are being oppressed. That's the bait. But the switch is, okay, well, now that you've accepted this type of tolerance, then you should be fine with normalizing with Israel. You should be fine with normalizing with Israel. You should be fine with the influence of Israel in your country. You need to be open to Israeli businesses, diplomats influencing your country because you're tolerant, right? This is why an organization like the ADL and also the U.S. State Department and Israel itself, they welcome these types of declarations. Like it's on the facade, or the facade is for religious freedom, but in reality, it's about normalization of Zionism in these Muslim countries. So, and then the final example, I mean, I could talk endlessly about this kind of Zionism affecting Islam. Oh, this is U.S. Institute of Peace. The Abrahamic Family House, this is also in the Gulf. So they're building this kind of complex. Oh, the Abrahamic families, the Abrahamic religion. This is the perennialism that I'm talking about. that these religions are all acceptable. Islam, Judaism, Christianity, it's all an Abrahamic family, and we all have the same values, and we have this nice complex, the Abrahamic family house, and this is such a beautiful show of respect and love and tolerance. So you had Pope Francis was involved in this on behalf of the Catholic Church. You had Ahmed al-Tayyib of Azhar Mosque, the Azhar University in Egypt involved. And they created, these three separate structures. One is a synagogue, one is a church, and one is a mosque. But they're all part of the Abrahamic family. So this is a Zionist front. This is a Zionist initiative. So the whole point is that, even within politics, we talked about how you can have left wing, right wing, but they are pro-Israel. Doesn't matter if you're progressive, if you're conservative, you're pro-Israel. They want the same situation. Doesn't matter if you're atheist, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Jew, everyone is pro-Israel. It doesn't matter what religion you are, you're pro-Israel. And you're advancing Israeli interests. That's the entire goal, and it's designed to give you this illusion of free choice. The illusion of, it doesn't matter what religion you are. See the diversity of support behind the Zionist state. This is the whole project. So they're really pushing this type of influence in the Muslim world, in the Middle East. And it's getting more and more pronounced and more obvious now because of the war in Gaza with Palestine. You can't really hide it. Like these elements, these Zionist elements are very obvious now to the Ummah. We see the hypocrites. We see those who are selling out the religion for the sake of Zionism because they want to get a check or they want to gain influence. So alhamdulillah, now that the whole agenda has been busted wide open and we can see it and we can warn against it. And I've been doing that since October 7th and before, specifically with the Madkhalis, with these kind of Hamza Yusuf Sufis associated with Abdullah bin Bayya. And they've attacked me very ruthlessly because of that. And you can see how closely they're tied to Zionist organizations like the ADL. My suspicion was that it was the UAE and these governments that were working with the ADL that decided to put out the hit piece against me and portray me as this extremist supporter of terrorism, anti-Semite. The ADL put out that piece, I believe, in collaboration with some of these governments. Allahu A'lam, but I wouldn't put it past them.